I apologise, folks, for the massive delay there, but we are readying up in just a moment. We're going to get racing again. 20-man lobby, full grid. Everyone is back on, and this is going to get exciting again. Hopefully, this time, we don't have any more issues. Hopefully, the desync, I can see, actually, if you see on the stream there. I hope it is popping up on the stream. It does look like it is on my screen. Every driver on the grid, as I continue to die, does have a red bar, but that is my connection. That is simply my horrendous connection to this game servers. As we all know, EA is designed beautifully, as Boosty very famously said. It is a esports ready game. So we are going to have to deal with the enjoyment of what we've got ahead of us. So let's have a look now as we get ready for the race, another 50% race. Unfortunately, I do appreciate it is now 9 o'clock for those of us in the UK, and technically the race would finish at around 9:30 on a typical race schedule. But now with the restart 50% race, we are going to look to finish in around 45 minutes. A quarter to 10 is when we expect to finish tonight's race. So I'd like to apologise to those of you who are watching the VOD, those of you who are watching the stream now, before we get along with the race. Apologies for the massive delay here. I am very sorry for that has happened. Bear with me. Let's get that out. We are going to get going now with another session. Let's get the game open as the drivers are just getting everything ready for the race. So they've got their tyre strategies, their fuel strategies, their setups, everything that needs to get sorted out. Mix, if you're listening, pardon me, from what I can see, you're not actually timed out on the channel, so you should be able to speak with no problem at all. Otherwise, if there is a problem, hopefully one of the mods can help you and resolve that problem for you. There shouldn't be an issue, though, from what I can see. But we are going to wait just a few more seconds here, and then we are going to get going for the race. 45 minutes, 29 laps, if I recall my maths correctly. I believe I do. 29 laps around Albert Park, and hopefully we can have an exciting race ahead of us. Here we go. Let's post that ready up message, get everyone, get the timer ticking, the 30-second timer for everyone to get going and rev their engine. See those famous 5 red lights? And unfortunately, unlike Martin Brundle and unlike David Crofty, you don't have to press the red button if you're a Sky Q or Sky Glass customer, because we don't have that feature. I've wanted to say that. I do apologize. But unfortunately, you cannot jump on board with all of the drivers. You cannot jump on board to listen to all the team radios, because we do not have that here with us. It would be amazing if we had that feature. If TeamSpeak was integrated into the game and we could listen into all of that, it would be wonderful to hear. But here we go with the restart, going from lap 4 before the red flag was called. And away we go with Boosty on pole position. And it looks like a very clean getaway for Boosty there. Oh, I'm pressing all the wrong buttons now into the first corner. We're going to see Boosty continue on to lead the race on the soft compound tyres. And of course, we've got all the same drivers, roughly actually all the same drivers on the same tyres. Of course, the race control has said to the drivers, go for your own tyre choice. Feel free to choose what you want. With all this tyre selection reset, everyone has 4 fresh sets of softs, 2 fresh sets of mediums, and 1 fresh set of hards, depending on the allocation that they have chosen. So Boosty on with the softs. He did start the race last time out with the softs. He's already got himself a half-second gap to Soybean behind, and Soybean with a half-second gap to his teammate behind, as we're going to have a battle here now between Shanae, Deets, Cos, and the Deem, as we do have a driver tumbling down the order. I do apologize for that gap there. As it does look, Mr. Tachus has unfortunately gone down the order, and so has Rico. If we have a look at the position changes, Tachus starting in P6 has gone down to P20, and Rico has gone down by 4 places, but every other driver pretty much has gone up a few places, and we are away racing again. Have another look quickly at the tyres. We've got Boosty on the softs, Mix on the softs, so both Haas drivers have opted to start on the softs. They're going to have an immense amount of pace on the drivers around them. Of course, the mediums are going to take a few laps, and the hards are going to take even a few laps more than the mediums to properly warm up, properly find the temperature, and get up to grip. As we're going to see Gigi Land there go quite wide out. He's going to go 2 wide now with the Nadeem, 3 wide with the Nadeem, and with the Williams reverse behind, 2 wide now to the first corner, and the Nadeem with a brilliant move, a brilliant send, gets ahead of the pair of them now to P9. P8, sorry, as we do have a first retiree, and unfortunately that's going to be Mr. Chuse into the pits. He goes 3 wide now into the second sector, as Cod Sylvia on the inside line. Unfortunately, Gigi Land, a repeat from before the red flag. He does go wide there, does get a 3-second time penalty for track limits, as Cod Sylvia is now through for P9 and Gigi Land on for P10. And that is your top 10 order for the end of the first, well, I say the end of the first, second lap. End of the first lap and the second sector of the second lap. As we now come through towards 9 and 10, Boosty continues on strong with a 3/10 gap. Soybean rapid behind. He's not letting him get away, even on the soft common tires. Soybean on the hards has that pace difference, has that absolute godsend of pace. I don't know where he manages to find the pace. It will always be a mystery to me how he manages to keep up with drivers on faster tires. I guess he is just the champion for a good reason. As we now come around the final corner and across the line in just a moment, DRS will be enabled, and the tire strategies there, powered by AWS, definitely powered by WS, is laps 12 to 14 for the mediums, or 14 to 16 for the mediums to hards. So the one stop is certainly possible, but depending on safety cars, we might have ourselves a 2-stop. There is a lot that can happen still, as we do have a battle now between the Alpines. We saw the Alpines collide with one another in real life. I'm struggling for words, I do apologise. Gasly and Ocon, of course, had a double DNF at Australia a while back, and there is a bit of a traffic jam going through there. 5 and 6, or 3 and 4, sorry, corners 3 and 4. But thankfully they've gotten up to speed. Again, Dietz and Tix have not retired. We don't have an Alpine double DNF. Still another 26 laps to go. I'm not going to jinx anything. Let's touch wood there and hope that nothing happens. We're going to see a battle now, a massive train go on as Nadeem gets through ahead of Mr. Goat now. The Mercedes man is absolutely on fire, putting in the purple middle sector. Mr. Chuse has retired from the session, as unfortunately he has forgotten to put on a setup. And I wonder if there's going to be a lot of drivers who's done that, as there is contact between the Ferrari man, Mr. Go, and Mr. Nadeem, as Mr. Nadeem is spun around, is now losing positions, and we snap over to Boosty to see a massive snap of oversteer from the Haas man, with now Red Bull all over his gearbox. And look at this helicopter cam. The DRS is so powerful in the circuit, though he's not using it. Soybean, playing this really tactically, really well, is playing patiently behind the Haas driver and waiting for the second helping of DRS, but he's not close enough now. In fact, he's got his teammate behind him, closer than ever, to try and go for the position. But Soybean, I think Soybean is going to play the game of patience here and let Boosty continue on ahead, knowing he's got the pace in hand. He just has to wait for his opportunity to arise. Free DRS for this Red Bull man, as Rico puts in the fastest lap. Rico having to pit very early on from a contact at the start of the race. He did have front wing damage. He is now 14 seconds, or 6 seconds behind the pack. And he is catching up to Mia, and of course Mia is now also 11 seconds behind. So a lot of catch up to go on, but there are still safety cars and virtual safety cars to occur that can help bunch up the pack. I'm going to stay on board here with the top 5, top 4 here, as they're all really close together. You look at this train all the way down to Julian there. Everyone within half a second of each other. Cos Sylvie, teammates to Julian and Aston Martin, have got themselves a 3-second window where they've got a protected window. Julian has got no worry about any defense behind, no competition or opposition behind, as we're going to see Mr. Skill Issue. The Haas TP tried to go for a move down the inside, unfortunately not quite close enough. Of course, he does have the soft compound tires, but now he's under pressure from Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling going to try and go for a move. Potentially, could we see them go too wide? We're not going to see Ryan Gosling fight, but Mick's down the inside. He's going to have a little bit of light bumping between the Red Bulls, and now there is contact between Mick's and between the McLaren. And unfortunately, that's going to be mixed into the wall there, and he's certainly going to have some front wing damage, severe front wing damage there, as he does also receive a 3-second time penalty. I think Mick's might have actually lost. He's only lost an end plate, which is quite fortunate. But on a circuit such as Melbourne, such as Albert Park, sorry, where you really need to have that downforce, you really need to be stuck to the circuit, but you also want to have that straight line speed. Having that front wing damage is going to be detrimental to his races. Soybean is still pushing along. He's almost pushing Boosty along and giving him a bit of a friendly nudge to go faster, and he's got the DRS open. He's again just sitting behind patiently as Ryan Gosling, you can see in the distance there, with the DRS advantage, does get ahead of Mick, and now up into P3, provisional podium place for McLaren. I'm sure Webby is shouting at the top of his lungs to see his driver, newly signed driver, new to join McLaren. He was an ex-Ferrari driver last season. Unfortunately, he had to retire for personal circumstances. He's now back on the grid, and he's starting off strong with a provisional showing for a podium finish. Mr. Goat is... No, that's not Mr. Goat. That's Mix into the pit, sorry. Of course, with that front wing damage, and we've got a few drivers now gaining position there. If we have a look at the positions... Lost, of course, Mix is going to lose quite a few positions here. With changing the front wing, he's going to lose, I think, about 7 seconds in the pits is roughly what drivers will lose when they change their tyres and their front wings. So, of course, he's going to lose quite some time, but a safety car can certainly bring him back into the fight without a doubt, as Rico now takes position from Mix. We're going to see a battle here between Ryan Gosling. There's a gap starting to form between Ryan and Mick. So now it's just a battle for the top 3, and we're going to actually jump to Mr. Goat in the middle of the pack now, fighting for P7, fighting with Julian, the Aston Martin versus the Ferrari. The returning man, Mr. Goat, who helped Brisen and Ferrari score the Constructors' Championship in Season 7, unfortunately then lost it to Williams, and now around into corner 9 and turn 10, sorry. He manages to claim back P7. He's going to have to defend really well, though. Now with the Aston Martin on the inside, slots in just behind. Mr. Goat on a return to Ferrari as team principal and as a driver. Was on a battle to take the position. Unfortunately, has just had a bit of a bump and into the wall there. You can see the end plate is gone. So Mr. Goat, going from quite high up in the order, has lost quite a few positions. There is another piece of wing Alpha Tauri there. That's going to be Panos, unfortunately, with that front wing damage. He's going to have to box now as Ryan Gosling goes through for P2. Unfortunately, Boosty, those soft tyres perhaps are now starting to really feel the heat as they do hit 33% on the tyre wear. 33% is the first ledge at which the tyres do start to drop off. Goes from, do correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I recall correctly, it goes from 33% to 50%, 60%, and then of course it will drastically drop from every percent after that. So now Boosty is in that little window of opportunity where whilst he does have a little bit of pace, he is now starting to really feel the pain of those soft tyres. He's got to try and make it last. Perhaps the goal is to try and make them last as far as the mediums can go. I'll have a look at my little data sheet in just a moment as the battle goes on for the lead of the race, as both Alpines are fighting for position here, as we see Dietz with the DRS gets through and ahead down the inside on Julian, and Tixnix now as well. The other Alpine reserve driver is going to try and go for a move as well. Can both Alpines make the move in one sector? He's going to try and go for it down the inside. No DRS for Julian. Brilliant defense and a brilliant attack. And unfortunately, there is a bit of wheel bumping between the pair of them. And Julian going just a tad bit wide and now very heavy on the throttle. He has gone into the wall, lost his front wing. So Julian is going to have to box now for a fresh front wing there. Very unfortunate incident there, but very good racing between the Alpines. Both of them now up into point scoring positions. As Mick, you can see there, has closed in the gap. He's managed to find himself back into that 1 second gap to P3. So the race is back on for the top 4 fighting for position. Of course, they're all about 6.5, 7 tenths away from each other. Now, a quick word to the strategies at hand. Before we get there, actually, it looks like we're going to see the Alpines go for a bit of a switcheroo here. Tixnix with the DRS is going to get ahead of his teammate. If we have a look at the tyres, they're on the same tyres. They're on the same tyre life. And Tixnix, with so much more speed, perhaps so much more potential to score more points, has gone ahead of his teammate. Perhaps that is going to be some team orders between the pair of them to say that I'm faster, let me go on and battle, as Scollop gets ahead of his... ahead of Vers there on the soft tyres. But as we look here, you can go for the one-stop. Soft hard and medium hard are two very viable options for these drivers. Though the softs and the mediums, you want to pit around lap 7 to 13. We've just gone past that window. now for those softs and those mediums. But that's if you've got the best race pace, and I think, if I'm honest, the best race pace in the pack here is going to be the top 4. Cos Silvia is certainly a very good driver, same with GGland, Tix, Deets, everyone is very good. But the top 4 in a league of their own, 2.5 seconds is their gap to Cos Silvia behind, 5.5 is Cos to GGland. The tyre span for the softs are going to be 12 to 14 laps. That's up until they hit the puncture, they hit the territory at which they are going to be absolutely detrimental to your race pace, and you're not going to see any improvements in any lap times. But you want to try and pit them 9 laps or less. We have just reached that window now, so we're going to see potential for the likes of Rico, Verz, and Boosty pitting very soon. Perhaps we're going to have a safety car, and we are going to have a safety car, I think. There it is, as Panos, unfortunately, has retired from the session in that second sector. Just going through corner, what is that? That is going to be going into 6 and 7. 2 very high-speed corners. In fact, the same corners we have seen the likes of Albon lose his car in Free Practice 1. If you guys haven't seen that on Thursday, Free Practice 1, unfortunately, he does lose the car. Williams without the spare chassis. Logan loses the seat. Albon races in Logan's chassis. It's a little birthday present to Albon, as today is his birthday. So a little happy birthday to Alexander Albon. Would be amazing if you joined this league. Just imagine the chaos. As, of course, we're going to see a flurry of drivers jump into the pits. Every pit box is going to be busy. Everyone is going to be jumping in. And you're going to see now, well, I say everyone, hold on a minute. Soybean has not pitted. He stayed out on the old hards, opting to go and committing to that one stop, hard medium perhaps, or the hard softs, extending that tyre life on the hards to go to the softs at the end of the race. We got Shanae and we got Gravy, 9-lap-old mediums, 9-lap-old mediums and 9-lap-old hards. And then I believe the rest of the grid are all going to go into the pits. We'll have to see what Mia does. Mia is not going to box for fresh tyres. Of course, only just 5-lap-old. Initially should be fine, shouldn't lose too much time. But eventually, as time goes on, it will be quite simple, quite quick for you to lose that pace off of those tyres. But the majority of the grid have opted to pit for a fresh set of tyres. And I'm very intrigued to know how the race is going to turn out now. A lot of drivers have served their mandatory stop. A lot of them haven't, going for the double medium. So, of course, committing to the 2-stop and ending the race on the soft compound tyre. As Mia has retired from the session as well. In the exact same corner has taken the victim of 2 drivers, the AlphaTauri and the Williams, lost in that first part of the second sector. And it looks like the Mercedes final call. It's going to be a very last-minute call. Shanae's going to go into the pits now for a fresh set of tyres. He's going to lose a lot of places now. Perhaps tumble down to the bottom 5, perhaps, there. I'm going to have to see in just a moment as he goes for the hards, perhaps looking to end the race. But the hards can last. The hards can last up to 20 laps or more, but they will hit their cliff and their puncture territory towards lap 19 to 22. So it's going to be quite a risky strategy for Shanae. Perhaps he's hoping for another safety car. Perhaps he's hoping for another virtual safety car in this race to help extend his tyre life. But the question I really want to know, and the question I'm very curious to know, what kind of strategy is he going for and why is he going for it, is going to be Soybean and Gravy. Soybean staying out on the hard tyres, 10-lap-old hards compared to the competitors around him on fresher hards and mediums, and then Gravy as well on these old hards. As Wobby McQueen, team principal for McLaren, has gifted a Tier 1 subscription to the Mercedes team principal as well. Team principals showing love and support to one another is always a delight to see. Webby is indeed quite a lovely gentleman to do so. And safety car is in this lap. Here we go. And we are going to go racing again with 17 drivers on the grid. Unfortunately, 3 retirees. Mr. Chichus retired in the pits for forgetting to put on a setup, and it's a very unfortunate end to the Alfa Romeo driver. The 2-time F2 champion. Very unfortunate opening race for the season, but it happens to the best of us. It happens to a great deal of us. So it is nothing to be too upset about, and I'm sure we're going to see Mr. Techus, apologies for the mispronunciation there, we're going to see Mr. Techus come back even stronger. And then Panos and Mia lost the car going through corners 7 and 8, the two fated corners that took the Williams car for Alexander Albon in FP1 on Thursday morning, or Friday morning, sorry. But here we go, Soybean, 10-lap-old hards. Safety car restart. He's done plenty of these last season. He's done one already before the red flag this season. And he's taking it all the way up to the line. The entire grid is starting to bunch. And there he goes. Full throttle. ERS is deployed. And across the line, catching out so many drivers behind, but also bunching up the entire grid. There's going to be so much carnage and chaos. It is going to be quite a miracle to see everyone get through the first few corners alive, and they've managed to do it quite impressively. We're going to see a two-wide battle between GOVEE and GGLand. GGLand on the inside now, with GOVEE on the outside, and unfortunately GOVEE not quite having that traction, having that control to be able to get ahead. We do have a driver going down the order, and Nadim now with the yellow, not the yellow flag, with a 3-second time penalty. Do have a two-wide battle now. Shanae and Verge. Shanae on the inside gets ahead, slots in just ahead now of the Williams driver. So Shanae now up to P12, trying to battle it out, try and climb as many positions as he can, as Nadim now going around the outside. No DRS for the first 2 laps after a safety car restart, and Nadim is now through up into P7. As Scallop is now fighting and defending as much as he can. The Alfa Romeo driver just behind, as GOVEE slots in for P9 now, going through 9 and 10. And Nadim, beautiful move from the Mercedes man, gets through and ahead, and he's deploying so much ERS. I should have removed that so much earlier. You're not getting any sneaky information from me, as we now see Boosty getting through and ahead of Soybean. So now Soybean has lost the lead of the race. Ryan Gosling and McLaren are on for the lead of the race, and Boosty is on for P2. Both Red Bulls have been caught sleeping. And of course, do not forget crucial information. Pardon me, crucial information here, folks. GOVEE and Soybean are on 11-lap-old hards. They have opted to stay on the original tyres. We're going to see a two-wide battle now between Cos and between Soybean. Cos with the fresher tyres. Mick goes through. GGLand goes through. Soybean has lost not 1, not 2, but 3 positions now. Nadim goes through. Now for P6. Cos and Mick are fighting. Boosty is fighting for the lead of the race. So much is going on as Boosty now takes the lead of the race. Mick on for P3. Cos for P4. GGLand for P5. Nadim up to P6. Soybean, big name champion, defending champion, has gone down to P7. And now we have a flurry of penalties going all across the grid. Rico through to Cos Silvi. 3 drivers are clear of penalties. Shanae, Tix, and Soybean, but all of them with 3 seconds for track limits. And unfortunately, some of them with even more for track limits. We're going to see another battle now as Nadim goes through and ahead of GGLand for P5. The battle continues. Mick now with a 3-second time penalty for track limits. Oh my days. I have said to these drivers, please bear with me as I'm slowly dying. I'm very ill, but these guys are not stopping. Tix going down the inside, another move. He did go for a move on Julian just before, and that did result in quite a hefty contact between the pair of them, but Tix has done it cleanly this time and is now through for P6. As I die slowly in the background. Crossing the line now, DRS is now enabled, so the drag reduction system is now enabled for the next 15 laps of this race, assuming we have no virtual safety cars or safety cars, and I'm going to touch wood here and hope that we have ourselves a very exciting battle all the way to the end of this race, as Boosty leads on with a half-second gap to Ryan Gosling behind, and a half-second gap again behind him to Mick, to a group of 4 drivers, all with time penalties. Down to Tix, now 1.3 seconds behind, and he is on those fresher hards. Of course, every driver around Soybean is going to have an immense amount of pace, but a lot of them have committed to a 2-stop. A lot of drivers have committed to go from medium to medium or hard to hard to finish the race onto the softs, is my only assumption here. So we'll have to see what they do, but Soybean is still on those old tyres. I am very worried to see what's going to happen at the end of this race. Thank you very much, Owl. I do hope to get well very soon. As GGLand now receives another 3-second time penalty for track limits, it's going to be a lot of drivers changing position. A lot of drivers going to be really careful of where they go. And we're going to see a battle there between Scallop and Dietz. Unfortunately, Dietz is not quite close enough to go for a move on Scallop. And funnily enough, I feel like commentating actually cleared my throat and I can actually breathe through my nose. So thank you, Tier 1 drivers. As what a move from Tix. Tried to go for a send down the inside into the final couple corners. Unfortunately, not quite able to get the car stopped. And Dietz just having to slot in behind. Now actually under heavy pressure from Shanae. Shanae's going to try and look for a move. He's going to go for a move down the inside with a DRS advantage. And comfortably into the first corner. Haas as well. Skill issue. Trying to go for a move. Unfortunately, not quite having that speed, not having the pace, the overspeed that he wanted to try and get the move done. Unfortunately, it actually loses out to the AlphaTauri behind. Rico is on the hunt, going from essentially what is last to first for the AlphaTauri driver. He's scoring P2 in the championship, Drivers' Championship last season, looking to perhaps fight his way back. Can he get into the points as Tix now receives a 3-second time penalty? And unfortunately, only 6 drivers have no penalties yet to their name. That is going to be Boosty. That is going to be Ryan. We've got Soybean, Shanae, Verz, and Gravy. So still 6 drivers to go. And so much battling is still going on. We're going to have a battle now between Rico. Is he going to go comfortably through and ahead of Julian? We're also going to jump over to Nadim as we get Nadim going through and ahead of Cos Sylvie now. Of course, all these drivers are on essentially the same... I say essentially. They are on the same lap tyres as Nadim now receives a 3-second time penalty. This is a very treacherous circuit for track limits. A lot of drivers are going to have a lot of pain with track limits on this circuit, and you are going to gain a lot of position. Soybean is looking very comfortable in P8 at the moment with no time penalties, and of course, I hope to see no driver fall victim to even more penalties. Don't pull off what I managed to do in our partner league. I managed to get myself disqualified because I may have received 30 seconds of penalties, but that's my own skill issue to deal with. These drivers are the best of the best, and hopefully we have no one pull off the same move, as we have a battle going on between Scallop and Shanae trying to fight for the final point scoring position, or rather, sorry, scoring for P9 here, not the final point scoring position. Scallop is absolutely holding everyone up. Look at that bus behind him, or that train behind him. We got Scallop, Shanae, Dietz, Rico, Julian, and Mix all on the train as Nadim gets through and ahead of Mick now for P3. It is now 5 different constructors in the top 5 as Gigiland sits in P6. McLaren scoring the highest 2 point scoring positions in this championship so far. As the battle will continue on between Scallop and Shanae, as a Scallop unfortunately, does fortunately defend really well. Shanae unable to attack really well. There is contact, but there light contact between Yuli and Shanae as he does lose out of position to Dietz now. The Alpine getting his nose in the fight into that final point scoring position. Oh, and the fight goes on. And the fight goes on. You can see the train is really starting to form. You've got your pack. You can actually see it on the mini-map really well there. You got Boosty leading the race, and at the end of his pack is going to be Cos Sylvie. The 5 of them all fighting for P1, all fighting for the podium positions. You then have another miniature battle between Gigiland and Tix fighting for P6. Soybean in a battle of his own, 2.5 seconds clear ahead and 2 seconds clear behind. And then Scallop, whilst he may have clean air, he has got a hefty train behind him. We're actually sitting on board with Shanae now in the middle of this train. He's going to try and close the gap. You can actually see Dietz just ahead of him. Blinking red light. He's low on ERS. He's trying to recharge that ERS on a circuit that you can recharge very quickly, but is also very powerful for the top speeds that you can get on the circuit. As Shanae now receives a 3-second time penalty for track limits. And we're going to see a potential move from the Alpine. He's going to try and go around the outside. He does dabble onto the grass there. And Shanae with a brilliant move, a double overtake, coming around into, what is that, corner 12, I believe. No, corner 11, just off the DRS straight. Shanae with a beautiful double overtake gets through and ahead of Scallop and Julian, who just went a bit wide, trying to go too wide through corners 11 and now into 12. So they cross the line now. We're going to have a 3-wide battle at the back of the grid there. Let's have a look here. Almost 2 wide, sorry, between the Ferrari, the Mercedes, the Alpine, and the Haas. 2 different 2-wide battles, and the battle continues on as Julian's going to try and go for a move. Could he go for a move down the inside? He's going to try and send it. He does try and send it. He's side by side with the Red Bull, and he just manages to edge his nose ahead of him, and they're still going to go 2 wide through this very tight section of the circuit. Quite a miracle to see them come out of that battle well, hopefully unscarred. Unfortunately, can't see all of the damage on my screen. Of course, a lot of the damage that can occur to the cars are going to be just visual damage. But we are going to see a fight for the lead of the race now, as we're going to see Ryan Gosling. He was for a moment just half a tenth behind. The hards are going to be coming into play by quite a margin now, as we go in for lap 9 on these tyres. Soybean, still 17 lap old hards. He's pushing it right to the limit. 20 laps is the limit. from the information that I have for the hard compound tyres. And I think that's how far he's willing to push those tyres, as we're going to jump back to this two-wide battle between Julian and between Mix there, as Mix has lost a position. There is damage there as well. I'm not too certain who that is. I think that Ver's going off the track. Ver's has got front wing damage there. Scallop with front wing damage, heavy front wing damage. You can actually see the side plate or end plate of that car is missing, as Julian is now spun round, and a very unfortunate incident into the wall there. Surely that is rear wing damage. Hopefully it isn't, because rear wing damage can be quite detrimental in this race, as Verz is now into the pits. And Dietz now receives a 3-second time penalty for track limits. And now the battle continues. 5 cars all fighting for P10. The final point scoring position here, as Makes is going to continue trying to defend. And unfortunately, he just locks his race there. He loses 4 positions there. His teammate still leading the race, but he's just in the distance there, trying to score that final point, trying to take as much of an advantage as he can in the Constructors' Championship, as Mix has now found himself in P12, Scallop and Mr. Goat in P11, P11 and 13 respectively, as Dietz now claims P10 for that final championship point, as Ryan Gosling goes through for the lead of the race, and is comfortably ahead. Boosty now under pressure. Of course, the hards are going to be well into the picture now. This is where the softs are out of the picture. Verz has pitted for the softs. The mediums are starting to hit the limit. 10 laps to 19 laps is roughly when you want to try and be pitting off the mediums, and these drivers are now hitting that 10th lap. And so the hards are going to come into the picture quite comfortably, sitting at 26% for Ryan Gosling, whilst the rest of the medium runners across the entire grid are sitting around 30%, 30 to 33%, and that is, as I mentioned at the start of the stream, that is the initial cutoff point for when the tyre deg and the grip loss is quite immense. We do have a temporary yellow flag there. I think that has cleared up quite quickly. Gravy now up into P13, as well as Soybean on the original tyres they started this race on. I would love to know from his engineers, for both Gravy and for Soybean, what is going through their head and what is their endgame strategy here. It has to be the softs. The softs can last 9 laps. They've got to do 1 mandatory stop. But so does the rest of the grid. Surely so does the rest of the grid, as Julian has to retire from the race in the pits there. It's going to be the end of the race for the Aston Martin driver, as Boosty hits corner 10 beautifully. I think that's not going to be track limits, actually. I think that corner can be quite generous on the track limits, depending on how beautifully you hit it. And I think he hit it right on the mark, right on the money, as Ryan Gosling continues to lead with a 2.5, 3/10 gap to the drivers behind. And the battle goes on now for lap 21. 5 cars all fighting for the lead of the race. And I'm still a little bit speechless. I'm going to take this moment now whilst the train keeps on going to drink a sip of water. For we've got 8 laps remaining in this race. As the battle continues for P10, just in the corner of my eye, I did see Mr. Goat get through now for P10, as Verz on the soft compound tyre is going to go through for P13. Please tell me everyone can hear me still, because my audio has just cut from my microphone. As Gravy has pitted now off of the old hards onto the mediums now. If someone could just confirm you can still hear me, because I have no clue. I'm not going to tab out the game with so close to the end of the race. Cool. Okay. For a second there, all I heard was a massive pop and the audio cut. So I'm glad that OBS is still able to register my microphone there. As Mr. Goat there goes just a bit wide there. He's got a bit of a bad line there, but he defends really well to Dietz as Mix gets through now for P11. Mr. Goat really taking it close to the wall. I think he might have just did a Monaco kiss on the wall there. Thankfully, no damage to his front wing there. And he goes on still for P10. Look at the penalties, though. If we have a look at the penalties, it looks like it is going to be the likes and the Deem to lose a position. Gigi Land will certainly lose a position to Soybean, but of course Soybean still has to pit 7 laps in this race, and he's still on these old tyres, perhaps waiting for a really late safety car to try and recuperate on the positions that he's lost, as Ryan Gosling has lost 2 positions. DRS is so powerful on the circuit with 3 DRS straights in just 1 DRS straight, or 2 DRS. Wait, no, 4 DRS straights. I forgot the track had an update. If you guys noticed that, I apologize that I did notice that. I forgot that Albert Park, with its newest changes, I think it was in 2022 or 2023, they updated the circuit to be a lot better flowing. I have to agree with the changes. I think I quite like how the changes have improved the racing. But with that, 2 more DRS zones were added to this circuit. Or 1 more DRS zone was added to this circuit. And it is a spectacular DRS zone. And there's always one that I tend to forget. We'll ignore the fact that I tend to forget that as we go on for 6 laps left in the race. And Soybean has pitted. Red Bull are out. The soft compound tyres are going on for the Red Bull man. He's served his 1 mandatory stop. And now the race is on. He's now out of the points. So Dietz has now taken that point scoring position. And this is not looking like a very strong start for Red Bull here. Soybean was looking like a very, very racy driver who could have been on to win this race. But unfortunately, with a very early safety car, and perhaps he missed the pit window. He went past the pit entrance when the safety car came out, as my only assumption is why he opted to not go for that early stop with everyone else. He has got to climb just 3 places to get into the points, but he's got to climb 10 places, or 9 places to get into the podium scoring positions. Of course, the penalties are going to sway everything in his favor, potentially, as there is a yellow flag there at the back of the grid, and that's going to be Cos Silvi into the wall there. Unfortunately, Cos Silvi has hit the wall with his rear wings. Hopefully, that is not rear wing damage to his car. Unfortunately, I won't be able to see that information on my little data sheet here, but it doesn't look like he actually got any damage. So Cos Silvi has come off without an issue, without a hitch, and races with a fully functioning car, as Nadim takes the lead of the race. Boosty in P2, Ryan Gosling on for P3. The order has changed entirely, but Nadim still with that time penalty to be served at the end of the race is going to lose out on a potential race victory if he cannot find the pace, find the grip that he so desperately needs, and build up a 9-second gap. And if he manages to do that in the next 5 laps, I have no words to describe that kind of race if he climbs that gap. I think it'll be quite impressive, but also quite a miracle to pull off. His only hope is that Ryan Gosling and Boosty continue to fight it out for position, and I think they are going to fight it out. Both of them with DRS, both of them are closing in on one another now into 9 and 10, and I think we might see a battle for P2 here, as Nadim won't have the time left in the race to be able to build a gap, but he certainly will have the time to be able to have a relaxing stroll in the lead of this race, as we have a quick look to see where Soybean is currently sitting in 3 seconds behind Mix, and Mix is actually looking for a fight here for points. Only 2 drivers without penalties. I've only just come to realize this. Boosty and Ryan Gosling are the only 2 drivers who are still yet to receive a time penalty, and touch wood, they do not receive one before the end of the race. I really hope they don't, because it has been an excellent race for the pair of them, and they are looking to capitalize immensely with their clean racing or clean driving away from the track limits. Half a second now between Boosty and Nadim. 3/10 between Ryan and Boosty. We're going to stay here with Mix, though, for just a moment, as it does seem like the race has quietened down just a tad bit. Mix trying to try and score some points here, of course, with the 12 seconds of time penalties, though. He's not going to look to score any points, as not only does he have to climb those positions, he then has to gain a lot of time to the drivers behind. It's going to be a matter of patience, as Mix there for a moment there does have a snap of oversteer, keeps it steady, keeps it going, still is in the battle, but the battle is here. Soybean in the Red Bull with the fresh tires, now with the DRS. He's holding back. He's holding back. Soybean is playing the patient game. He's going to go into 9, now through 10, hit the corner beautifully, and now on the exit, he's going to have immense speed and grip and pace. Could he go for a double overtake? He can't go for a double overtake. He can't go into the point scoring position there on Mr. Goat, but he is currently provisionally sitting in the points with that time penalty. Only 3 seconds for him to serve, whilst Goat has 6. Dietz has 6, and around the outside goes Soybean. There is contact between the Red Bull and between the Ferrari, as Scallop now retires from the session, and it's going to be a final safety car. With 4 laps left of the race, we have a safety car at the end of the race. And unfortunately, Scallop is going to be out of this race in the second sector. Comes through 9 and 10. He's lost the car coming out to 10. And perhaps just copying what a few drivers had done to themselves before this. They clipped into the gravel, or they clipped into the grass, and they lost the car. That's going to be the end of the race for Ferrari. 5 retirees from the session. And we have a safety car that is going to go in on lap 27. Nope, 28. So we're going to have 2 laps of racing. No DRS. Purely car versus, or drivers versus, I was going to say drivers versus machine, but that's basically F1 in a nutshell. But who's going to pit? I think with so few laps remaining in the session, of course, some drivers, you can see Sylvie with a 5-second time penalty, and that will likely be for either a severe collision or for speeding the pit lane. That will be served in the pits. So he's going to lose an additional 5 seconds. So the pit stops will go down to 13 seconds, but it will be a potential full pit stop for Sylvie, because of course there may be that chance of serving the 5 seconds there, as Boosty and Nadim are tussling for position. That's going to be Boosty into the pits. So there we go. Right. Boosty is into the pits. Gosling is into the pits. Mick, Tix. Everyone could be boxing here. Nadim staying out on those old mediums, hoping, desperately hoping, nothing goes wrong in the final laps of this race. Soybean has also pitted for just 3 laps tire advantage. Oh, sorry, three laps tire disadvantage. He is also pitted for a fresh set of tires. Okay, they've not been held up for a second there. But with a very late safety car, Soybean is in the provisional points position. Sylvie has served that stop. Of course, every driver has decided to pit for the fresh softs, but now the question doesn't focus on Soybean. The question in the eyes, my entire focus for the last couple laps of this race is going to be for the likes of Nadim. Fortunately for the Mercedes man, and I know Jakob is going to be quite upset with this, to see that his driver, sitting currently provisionally in P1, set to potentially win this race on track, does still have a 9-second time penalty to serve at the end of the race. And that is going to lose him a lot of places. And every driver is going to be so closely bunched together. 9 seconds is going to hurt a lot more than it would in normal race pace. Shanae almost going into the back of Gigi Land there. Drivers going quite slow for the safety car restart. Hopefully the rest of the pack can catch up. But the question here now is, let's get the telemetry up on the screen. Let's see when Nadim's going to pull the trigger and run for the line. What is he going to do here? We saw at Australia last year, Alonso and Carlos Sainz had an incident. Carlos Sainz received a 5-second time penalty for a dangerous maneuver or a dangerous collision with the Aston Martin driver. And under safety car, that 5 seconds went from losing potentially 1 or 2 positions to nearly 5 positions. Nadim taking it all the way to the line, taking a page out of Soybean's book, bunching up the pack, staying around the 50-mile-per-hour mark. He's not going. He's waiting. He's waiting for the final moment. He's got the entire grid together, and there he goes, full throttle. ERS is deployed. Did he manage to catch anyone off guard? I don't think he has, but he's in fact managed to catch everyone off guard in terms of the battle for each other's positions. Oh dear God, there's going to be a lot of chaos now. We've already got one driver spun. That's going to be Mick spun round. Sylvie also went a bit wide there. Dietz has gone into the wall. So Alpine is now out of this race, and Nadim is now fighting for the lead of the race. And unfortunately, without that fresh tyre, without the fresh softs, he's going to lose so much grip, so much time, and potentially the lead of the race there, as there is contact between the Haas and between the Mercedes. Boosty gets through the lead of the race now, as Ryan Gosling is looking quite quick on those softs, of course, and he's going to try and go for a move on the Nadim, as Nadim now receives a 3-second time penalty for track limits, and that's going to be 12 seconds for Nadim, as now Ryan Gosling's going to try and go for a move. He's deploying as much ERS with 1 lap left after this final sector and 1 final lap. We're going to see another battle for lead of the race as Boosty continues to hold on to the lead. Ryan Gosling 1/10 behind. He's going to try and go for a move. Perhaps this is going to be a double overtake. or a double loss of position, as now Ryan Gosling down the inside does get the move done on Nadim, as there is a wing going flying off into the wall. There is a car into the wall. Nadim is now out of the session. Nadim has retired and into the wall. Mick is now on for a provisional podium position as Gigiland finds himself in P4 now. It is now a Red Bull 3-5 and a McLaren 2-4. Oh my god, what is going on for the final race, final lap of this race? We're going to see Boosty have himself almost a second in hand to Ryan Gosling behind as he defends from Mick, and Mick defending from Gigiland behind. Soybean still in a very good position to score points before the end of this race, as we're going to see Shanae as well in this fight. Everything is going everywhere is the only way I could describe this. Is Rico is now into the points with a 9-second time penalty for track limits. He's now trying to look to score points. He's going to lose out on those positions to Verz and Gravy behind. Can he find the time to be able to get ahead of Tix and have that cushion behind him to stay within the points? Boosty now still with a half-second gap, only 2 sectors, 1 sector left to go before we finish this race. We've had 6 retirees from this session, and in this final lap we've lost 2 of them, Nadim and Deet, after the safety car restart. Boosty now with a 3.5 tenths gap still, and Soybean now receives another 3-second time penalty for track limits as Ryan goes on still for P2, Mick in P3, and I think this is going to be the racing order. No driver is close enough to try and beat the likes of Boosty as he comes round the final corner, and the checkered flag is in sight in just the nick of time. He's going to come across the line and win round 1 for Tier 1 as Ryan Gosling scores a podium position for McLaren, and Mick scores that final podium position for P3 in the Red Bull. Shanae on for P4, Soybean for P5, and I couldn't get the rest of the grid before the checkered flag was out for everyone. What on earth was that race? Everyone was fighting for position so close to one another. Verz takes the final point scoring position in P10. And that was insane. How on earth did I manage to keep that up? That's my first question. How am I still breathing? Second question, that was some incredible driving from so many people included. Again, however, it was very unfortunate with the late safety car and drivers trying to go for as many moves as they can. Of course, they've all got the same tyres. They've all got the same amount of grip. They want to capitalize on that extra momentum, extra grip that they have. There are then unfortunate casualties caught in the line of fire, and we have seen now a few drivers retired on that final lap of the race. So that was quite an astonishing finish to the end of the race. I am beyond speechless for that race. A lot of contacts, and a lot of very unfortunate victims, as I mentioned, and a lot of penalties. A massive round of applause to Boosty and to Haas, and then of course to McLaren and to Red Bull for Ryan and Mick scoring on the podium for the start of this season 9. And that was quite a chaotic race. The 2 stops seemed to be, of course, the most powerful, with all the safety cars pitting for the softs at the end of the race. And to my surprise, still, Soybean, I don't know how he managed to do it. He scores the fastest lap. There is no surprise there for that power that he has, as I try and grab the results quickly before they disappear. Can the penalties go? There it is. No surprise that Soybean has the fastest lap in hand, has the pace to score points, but I don't know how he does it. Every week, he went on a safety car restart on the old hards. He was 17 lap old hards or 20 lap old hards. Pits on the softs, goes so far down the order, down to P13 on a very late safety car. He climbs 8 places on the safety car restart in 2 laps and scores P5 with the fastest lap. How? How do these drivers do this? And how am I still breathing? I will take a breath now, Rose. Thank you very much. Oh, right. Folks. Absolutely no worries, GG Land. It is always a pleasure to stream Tier 1. I mean, you guys make me want to enjoy the death and the torture that I put myself through. I also want to offer my apologies to all the Tier 1 drivers. I know a lot of them will be watching the VOD later back. There will be split into two parts, one before the red flag and one after. I do apologize again for the very, very late end to this race and to the stream. I do notice that it is 10 to 10, so I do appreciate that a lot of drivers may not want to have an interview. To be honest, I'd love to have an interview, but I also really want to breathe and go and drink some water. You're most welcome, Ollie. Thank you to all the drivers. Let's have a quick look at the interview room, if there is anyone. I don't think there will be anyone. It was quite a heated battle. Quite a lot was going on. And of course, you could probably hear it in my voice how I was struggling to keep up with everything. But it was a lot of fun. Congratulations again to Boosty for that race victory. A very well-deserved race victory. I mean, he's always been a quick driver. We saw him race at his home race last season at Hungary. He managed to score that victory, losing 1.5 seconds almost per lap to Soybean behind. He scores that race victory still. Ryan Gosling for P2 in the McLaren, and Mick for the Red Bull. I've said victory a lot now, and now it's a very dull word to myself. Oh, right. 10 to 10, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for tonight. Again, I would like to apologize for the late race. Interviews are welcome. Let's have a quick look. I think we might actually get some interviews. I'm saying my thanks now, but I think there might be a couple interviews. You've got 5 minutes. 5 minutes to join. Perfect. We are going to have one conversation. We're going to have a conversation with our race winner. So if you bear with me, folks, I am going to drag him in here, and we're going to have a chat with Mr. Boosty himself. Recently signed on to go to Haas, mixed with a very good driver choice there. He managed to score a race victory for the opening race. So let's have a look. Mr. Boosty, thank you for joining me in the combox. First of all, I want to say a very, very well done. Very well done. A very well round of applause to you. You got a race victory around a very treacherous circuit. So much carnage, so much chaos was going on. And honestly, I'm impressed to see you manage to come out on top with so much going on around you. Just tell me, what are your thoughts right now? What's just going through your mind after that race?
ERS management was key in this race, and trying to stay out of crashes and things like that. I was feeling myself very good. It was very good pace, and the strategy was good as well, so everything panned out perfectly.
That's perfect. I mean, that late safety car, I mean, you must have gone through a small state of panic to see such a late safety car, and then that opportunity arise to have the soft tires, but then on top of that, no track limit penalties. How many warnings were you at the end of the race there? You must have been on 2.
I was on 1, but yeah, I tried to keep it in the lines, so I didn't get any warnings.
Well, massive congratulations to you and the team. I mean, you've just signed on to go to Haas, and I'm sure Mix is completely overjoyed with that fight in that battle to go for the race victory. I'm hoping to see more race victories from you. I mean, I know you have the pace. I know you have the ability to practice and to improve and learn from your mistakes in the races. And I mean, this one, I think without a doubt, for me, you made no mistake. You put every foot right in this race. You made all the right strategy calls. And you gave Haas a long time coming and a very well-deserved race victory for Season 9. And I'm assuming, Panos, you're here. You were the race engineer for Mr. Boosty himself?
Yes, indeed.
And how was that? How was the stress levels? I know for a moment there you were on the track, unfortunately, going through, I think that was corners 9 and 10, I believe, or just before then, you did lose the car. Same places where Albon lost it in FP1.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was basically pushing to get DRS, and I cut the corner too much. I got the grass, and I just lost her, and I went into the wall. So, yeah, nothing you could do really. But my race was basically a bit ruined already because I had damage, which I got from Mr. Goat, who had front wing damage from when he went pretty slow, and then I had to pit, and trying to push, I just lost it. But yeah, that was my fault. But Boosty, he did a pretty good job to win out there. I mean, without me, obviously, he wouldn't have won, but he would have put it in the wall probably. But yeah, GG's to him, and let's see how this season's gonna go for him, because he might win. You never know. He's been pretty good the last couple of races.
He has, and he's been improving quite a lot. I remember, what was it, back in Season 7, he was racing in Tier 2, and of course had quite a few incidents there. Then promoted to Tier 1 for your incredible pace. So, I mean, you 100% deserve to be in this tier. You have what it takes to battle for race victory, as proven today. You just got to keep up the pace, keep up the practice, and show everyone what you're really made of. You're no longer the DNF merchant. You have now got to continue on with that P1 merchant title. That is going to be your title up until next week.
Ah.
I wish you the best of luck to maintain that title. I think you have got, as I mentioned, you've got what it takes to hold it. Just put in that work, and I think you'll have a lot of fun. It is Vegas next week, if I recall correctly. And I am curious to know what your thoughts are of that circuit, because I know there's a lot of mixed opinions. A lot of people don't like it. Too many straights, too many DRS straights, and just kind of, holding the throttle down. Or some people quite enjoy it. What are your thoughts on the circuit?
I mean, actually, I like the circuit very much. I mean, on Asetek course, I drove it a lot. But I'm just not that quick on it, so we will see. And tactical mind games will be very useful there because of the straights.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to watching the VOD back and to see what you guys do. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be here next week, but I know that you are going to put on quite the show under the lights at the very cold but also very beautiful city of Vegas. So I wish you the best of luck with the practice there. Thank you for joining me today, both of you, Panos and Boosty, and congrats again on your new title, P1 Merchant Boosty. You have got to defend that title, and you, no pressure. I know the title adds a lot of pressure, but no pressure.
Thank you very much.
I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, see you.
Now let's have a look. We are going to have one more conversation. We're going to have a quick conversation with Ryan Gosling. Welcome to the Combox, Ryan. I do apologise if I kidnapped you mid-conversation there with Sinead. But just a quick chat with you. I mean, you had a very good race. First race back after last season. I know that you retired. Just personally decided to take a step back from F1. Yeah. Now you're back in McLaren, of all teams. You decided to not go for your old team, Red Bull, and you beat them on the circuit. I mean, that must be pretty thrilling to know that you got ahead of your old team and your old teammate.
Well, yes and no. I mean, being is faster. I mean, we saw through the whole race. I think it was just safety car came out just like 2/10 too late for him to go in, and then he just got swallowed on all tires. So, I mean, I was chatting with Red Bull throughout the whole race. Well, it was fun, but weird racing sometimes. We did red flag, and just the first race was a bit chaotic overall. But I mean, it's a good race. I thought I never liked this track. Never do good on this track in qualifying, like I did here in P10. But race pace was very strong today, if I'm being honest. Just a bit sad I couldn't fight Boosty more on the last laps there. And I'm very happy with P2. I think I overperformed in that way and was quite lucky this race. But I'm very happy. I hope maybe someday I can get a win for McLaren as well. I think that was a long time since McLaren got a win in Tier 1.
Very long time.
So,
and you certainly have the potential for it. I mean, you got very lucky as well with the track limits. I mean, how many warnings were you at the end of the race?
I got 2. I have had 2. I think I got them both at the second stint on the hards.
Yeah, because the hards aren't very fun to drive on. I know a lot of people don't enjoy them on most circuits. But I mean, you did well. No track limits. With that late safety car, everyone on the softs, you would have still capitalized and gained at least a podium. Thankfully for you, you had the pace. You got ahead of Sinead and Mick, and you cleared them by, what was that, half a second as you crossed the line to Mick behind. So a very, very well-deserved podium for you and for McLaren. And a very exciting return for you to F1. I'm hoping to see you stick it out for the full season, because you've got a very strong team behind you. Gigi Land, of course, he's a multi-podium sitter from last season. Hopefully we can see you both up there, have a double McLaren finish, or perhaps a McLaren 1-2. I'm being perhaps a little too hopeful, but there's nothing wrong with a bit of hope, because you both certainly have that pace. My final question for you tonight before I wrap things up is that we've got Vegas next week. And I was wondering to know, is that a circuit that you enjoy? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Is it boring and do you fall asleep behind the wheel when you're on those straights?
To be honest, the only track time I have on Vegas is like maybe 5 time trial laps. Never done a race, maybe like an open lobby or something like that. But so I don't know. And I know people hate the track with their whole heart. I might not. I don't like hate it, but I don't like it either. So 50-50. I think there's gonna be a lot of duress training on the track. So I think yes, patience is gonna be the key, and keeping it clean. But it will be fun. I don't know. Maybe I will be lost. Maybe I will be first. I don't know. I don't know anything about my pace. So let's see.
Well, considering how this race turned out, I have confidence that you will do quite well. You'll do us all quite proud. And I know Webby is certainly screaming at the top of his lungs for the fact that you managed to score a P2 after, I think, was quite one of the most chaotic races we've had in a very long time. The competition was so close between everyone. Everyone was so... I think they were pushing the limits for what they can do to try and score positions. And I appreciate that this is a very high adrenaline, high intensity sport and a high intensity game that we play that we all love. And hopefully, F124 doesn't have as many issues and we can have the same clean battles. But
I hope so.
Besides the point, well done on that P2. Very well deserved. Very clean race from yourself to get no penalties, whilst basically the entire grid got more than 3 seconds. So that is certainly achievement to put on the wall, scoring no track limit penalties whilst the rest of the grid did. And I certainly look forward to see what you have in store for us next week. I'm sure, and I know for certain Flynn is going to do a very good job to commentate you guys as you race around Vegas.
Oh, yes, great F2 commentator. Love
he,
that.
He is a very good F2 commentator. How are you finding the F2 races?
Fun. I won the race last time. In here in Australia. It's really fun. I think it's more racing that way.
It's a lot closer, isn't it?
Yeah. You can actually bump into each other a lot more as well. Cars are smaller. I think it's very fun racing, but it's not as, I would say it, adrenaline. It's not the same adrenaline as in race here.
Yeah.
Feels like this has a more meaning with it.
It's more like a laid-back race, but it's also more competitive, whilst F1 is where all of the big names are and all the big battles are. So I completely get that. I'm really glad to know that you're enjoying F2. Of course, this is now, I think, our 3rd season or 4th season running F2. So hopefully that continues on strong, and hopefully you can capitalize on a great victory at Vegas next week for F2. And I hope to see you on the podium for Vegas as well in F1. No pressure, but best of luck to you, good sir.
We'll see.
Perfect. Thanks very much for joining, and congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good...
I might have cut him off there. Right, we're going to have one more quick interview. We're going to speak with Shanae. The returning champion has decided to come back for another season running. He did half a season last season with... I've said season a lot of times. He did half a season with Mercedes for Season 8. Now, for Season 9, he's back, and he is racing with Mercedes again. So, Shanae... Quick interview before I wrap things up. I want to say, first of all, it is a delight to see you back on track. And of course, after last season, it was a half season for you with Mercedes. Now you're full, hopefully staying for the full thing. How was that first race of the season?
It was very chaotic, but yeah, there is a lot of pace to find for me, especially in quali. Like you saw, like I was maybe P15 or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very slow, but race pace was a little bit better. Yeah, had a lot of fun, nice overtakes, and yeah.
I was on board with you when you went for a double overtake on, I think it was the Aston Martin and the Alpine at one point. Going into like the final sector, it was a brilliant move going into, I think it was corner 11, the sharp right-hander, because they both of them got into a bit of a tussle. They got collided with one another, and you capitalized beautifully. So, as you mentioned, there's still plenty of pace that can be found, but you still have what it takes with some excellent moves. And you didn't get a podium today. Unfortunately, track limits really was a pain for a lot of the drivers on the grid. If you didn't have that 3 seconds, I think you'd still be in P4 potentially. No, you would have taken P3 without the track limits. But I mean, it does happen. I mean, this is the first race I've ever seen where basically the entire grid received a track limit penalty or two. So congrats on only achieving 1 track limit penalty. And congratulations on that P4. I think it's going to be, as you mentioned, it was a very chaotic race today. The competition is very close together today. And I think the rest of this season is going to be quite exciting to see what these drivers have in store for us. And the kind of entertainment that us commentators are going to have to deal with. Because I know as a driver that was quite chaotic. But for me, when you watch back on the VOD, you'll see everything happened at once. I don't think I had a time to breathe at all. But I wouldn't miss it for the world. You guys always deliver some of the best races. So thank you for that. And congratulations on the P4. I look forward to see what you have in store for us for the rest of the season.
Thank you, mate. You did a great job.
Thank you very much. Oh, are you watching along whilst you're racing?
I didn't watch it, but I'm pretty sure you did a good job because you're very good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Best of luck to you next week. I look forward to see what you got in store for us at Vegas.
Yeah, I never driven the track, but I will give it my all.
Best of luck then.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Ciao. And that is going to be it for the interviews today. We managed to squeeze in a few there. It's now hit that 10 o'clock mark, so I do appreciate it. It's going to be quite late for a lot of you around the UK and around in Europe. Thank you once again, to everyone who tuned in on the stream, hung out with me all the way up until the end. I appreciate this has been a long 2 hours for all of us, and it has been quite the exciting battle. To all the new drivers who have joined in on the stream, if any of you are still watching or lurking in the shadows, please do feel free to join the race, join the Discord server. You'll find it in the About tab at the bottom of the channel. I can assure you, not every race is as chaotic as this, but it is as competitive as this. Everyone's so close together, within a second is basically the entire grid at the end of qualifying. And we offer a lot of game leagues, if you don't know already. If you don't know already, as I mentioned in the interview with Ryan Gosling, we have F2 on offer. That is every Friday at 8 p.m. That's for UK time, for, what is that going to be, UTC now? So 8 p.m. UTC on Fridays, we've got ourselves F2. And then on 6 p.m. UTC on the Saturday, oh gosh, now I'm really testing my own memory here. 6 p.m. UTC on the Friday is Tier 5. 6 p.m. UTC on the Saturday is Tier 4. 8 p.m. UTC on the Saturday is Tier 3, as well as our ACC race. So we do 45, 60-minute and 90-minute races, ending this race, the season for ACC. It's a 10-week calendar for ACC with a 2-hour race. And then, of course, on the Sunday, we have our 6 p.m. UTC F1 race for Tier 2. And then, of course, this race at 8 p.m. UTC on the Sunday for Tier 1. We also offer Dirt Rally, which happens throughout the week. 6 stages around Dirt Rally 2. If you join the server, you grab yourself the Dirt Rally 2 role. You can join the club. There is an appropriate channel and category for Dirt Rally 2. And you are welcome to join. Our admin, Jakob, and team principal for Mercedes is our very kind gentleman who is running the whole thing and helping us with the series. And then we also offer Project Cars 2. I know that game has recently been removed from the store for F1, but if you haven't already checked it out, I do recommend it if you've got the game. We run that every week at 7 p.m. UTC on a Wednesday. It's a midweek race. I do appreciate it doesn't work out for everyone, but we do seem to get a lot of good numbers for that, and it is a lot of fun. Perhaps we might see some go-kart racing, because they do have that opportunity to complete that in PC2. And that is going to be it for Tier 1 this evening, and my little plug for our community. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for Tier 1. Thank you for dealing with the stress of Tier 1 and the chaos of the red flags. We can only improve from the mistakes that we made, and so we will improve to make that time that we took to make that decision, cut that down to avoid wasting more time. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you next week for Vegas in F1. And it will be Suzuka for Asetek Corsa Competiciones. Thank you, everyone. See you later.